Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing Spec Ops The Line on the PC on FUBAR difficulty, and this is my PC guide and walkthrough for the hardest difficulty. We are currently on Chapter 11 of 15. It is entitled Alone. Yes, we are alone at first. We are going to be meeting up with our teammates again, our two squad mates, Lugo and Adams. And in a moment, they're going to allow you to make a moral decision about what to do with rigs, because I was actually curious if this guy betrayed us in the end. I don't know to what extent there are hard feelings, but from the conversation, it sounded like Riggs was trying to do the right thing, but maybe he just gave up in the end. I'm not sure. There are separate achievements for shooting him and for just walking past him. If you don't shoot him, he will burn to death. So there are those achievements to get. And if you haven't shot the animal that's up here, you will want to adjust your decision based on whether or not you want the achievement for shooting the I think it's called a caribou. But since I've already got that, I mean, I'm not really concerned about the achievements. I don't even have the Steam overlay on, which comes up and shows you any goings on, any achievements. But this is the first time we're getting the 44 Magnum, and you can use it for the entirety of the chapter if you like. It's a little underwhelming because it's not like it's just. You would expect it to be a little bit more powerful, and that's not to say it isn't powerful, but and maybe it just has to do with the clipping. I'm not sure. Now, when you come up here, if you do want to fight these guys, it's completely up to you, but you don't have to. You can wait till they're more or less all inside of the Coliseum area, and then you can just follow them in there. They won't be any the wiser about your presence. And if you're wondering why I didn't pick up the ammunition in this area, it is because the game takes it away from you up ahead, and it's just part of the conceit, because if you had it, then you wouldn't have to vault over cover the way that the game is scripted story wise. Anyway, when you do get the chance, just vault over the cover. You're going to kick him over into the bottom of this area. He's not going to scream, which is kind of a silly concept, but you're going to have some ammunition over here to pick up. I'm going to get all my bearings straight before I take out the guy that's holding Lugo hostage. And then you've got enemies to clear off on the other side of the area. The ones to the left, the ones in front of the escalators in the center, and then you're going to have a couple of enemies coming up behind the concrete barricade on the roof. So those enemies are going to have to be dealt with. You can't shout commands to your teammates because they all just, we haven't, I don't know where Adams is either. I can't tell. I've never been able to figure that out. But I'm sure he's around somewhere and he's going to show up soon. Maybe he's with Lugo currently. I don't know. The dispatch came from Adams about saving Lugo. But I think they are on the other side together. But when you, yeah, I guess Adams was hiding over to the right somewhere. I couldn't tell. I just couldn't tell. But now there is a mounted gun over there to the right, and I thought this was just a waiting sequence, but it does depend on clearing out the enemies on the other side with your teammates, because they are going to be overwhelmed a little bit. So if you're not finding yourself being able to progress, just take out any enemies to the right, and then these enemies should show up in. I think at this point it is possibly a waiting game. I'm just not sure. I think that it is. But if you're waiting here too long, that does mean you've probably got to take out a target or two, at the least one. and then the whole area is going to fill with sand, and then you're going to be moving past the barbed wire area. And I didn't mean to make it sound like the 44 isn't strong. It is a strong gun. It just sometimes when I hit enemies, I just expect it to one-shot enemies more than it tends to do. That's all I was judging it on. No vaulting back either. So this is a new area. You're gonna get a checkpoint over here, but you've got to be careful because all that stuff that you just did could be ruined because of enemies over here that need to be killed. It was just one guy. It's strange, but this game is just not well checkpointed sometimes. I mean, they're opening up an entire new zone for me over here, but they're still requiring that I take out one enemy over here. It's just I don't understand certain things like that. Apparently, I hadn't reached my enemy killing quota on the other side. But when you get your checkpoint and you've got your safety net. There are 3 targets on the skylights, and then before you rappel down, there are going to be some targets that you want to kill before you do that. I think this was actually I don't know. I saw some blood on the first shot, so I thought that was clipping, but I wanted to show you that you can kill a couple of guys over here. This guy never tends to move, so he shouldn't be hard for you to take care of. Just remember that when you start out this checkpoint over here, if you do a 180, there is some ammunition and some grenades directly behind where I was, as well as this too. And I think I'm going to pick up the shotgun because we've got some close range combat coming up with some enemies now. The reason that you wanted to kill the first few enemies that were over here was because they're going to overwhelm you if you haven't cleared all of them out. Your teammates are going to give you some assistance over here, and when the glass falls on enemies, they're going to be stunned. I once saw a 417 over here, but I only saw it one time. So what I'm going to use, I think I'm going to take the Magnum, and that was a little dangerous there because he might have been able to flank me. But this next section that's coming up is just. It isn't hard because you can take advantage of a really nice spot, but it's I don't know how to say what this is, and I'll just let you be the judge of what this is. I am going to render my comment though, so just do not rush into this room. Be very careful. And the cover over there to the right. See, let's see if I can headshot kill. See clipping. It's clipping. Yeah, clipping. That's not a gun being weak, guys. That is me trying to manipulate the geometry in this game and not being able to. So it's. I have to give this game credit for. It's a difficulty that lets you actually aim in this game without being instantly butchered. See, over here it's a little bit unsafe, and I'll pick up the thread of that topic too in a moment. But when you get in here, you're going to be dealing with a heavy, and the lights are going to be flashing on and off. And I mentioned this last time too because I really disagree with how this is handled. And again, it isn't hard, and it's not anything you need to worry about because. This position over here, the heavy will never flank you enough to kill you. But what I don't like over here, and don't even bother with aiming, what I don't like about this is that the heavy will essentially teleport from one area to the next. And the last time I checked, this was not some sort of a supernatural game where any supernatural goings on were possible, and they aren't. But what is happening is. In a blink of an eye, this guy is covering ground that he has no realistic or even any game conceit of being able to clear. Look, did you see what happened? He just teleports across the room. So unless he's running, he's never going to be able to cover that much ground that quickly. So, see, this is as far as he ever comes up, and all you need to do is just blind fire kill him with the 45 or with the shotgun. But it's just sheer stupidity, the amount of ground that stupid fucker can cover in a blink of an eye. Now, if the lights were off for a couple of seconds, I would understand him being able to travel the amount of distance, but they flash on and off. Doesn't make any sense. And I know this character suffers from delusions, but it shouldn't be like that at all. I mean, it's hard to explain if you haven't played this game, but the lights are just going on and off, and it's an effect that the game uses one time. I don't even know why they do it, quite honestly. Little power flickerings that are going on, but it's just. I'm not mad. I think it's completely stupid. Alright, anyway, when you get down here, there's going to be a piece of glass that's a little bit shattered. You can see it's a little shattered and it's holding back some sand. So what you can do is you can throw a sticky grenade. You usually can't throw it all the way over to the glass, but it will usually fall in front of it and detonate close enough so that it will shatter the glass. And then once you are done with that, just kill out the one enemy that's far away enough from the glass so that he lives. And then before you run up the stairs, you want to be careful about any stragglers, because there is no cover except for this thing that you can hide behind a little bit. I think that sticky grenade took care of the only enemy that gives you a true issue on this part. He will actually take cover behind that concrete slab to the left, and he will give you a hard time. And then for the remainder of this chapter, we've just got a sequence that I can't really describe what it is, except that it's complete and utter chaos, and it's quite challenging. And for people that are using a mouse and a keyboard, I think that this would be a lot easier. But it's just sheer and utter chaos, and it really isn't overly difficult. It's just very stressful, and it's frustrating because if you don't know where your teammates are, I think this section would be a little bit better in my mind if there was some way to make the enemies stand out a little bit more, a little bit more assistance from the game in directing you, who is where, where your teammates are trying to go. Maybe highlight some areas a little bit better, because it's quite difficult. I know they're giving you little impact points and little markers on the area across the way, but it's still not enough, because along with the hassle of you don't want to accidentally kill your teammates. You don't want both of them to fall, because then you fail. You've also got the threat of enemies turning their attention on you, and then you have to crouch to avoid incoming fire. It's hard to tell what's going on. It's so chaotic, and it's hard to discern what is what, where my teammates are, because everybody looks the same. I mean, they kind of do. Now, when you're watching this, you might be able to say, well, it's the teammate. I mean, it's hard. It's just hard to explain. But when enemies are close to your teammates, you want to just be very careful that you don't shoot the turret into your teammates, because the game will give you a little bit of leeway about shooting into your teammates, but it does, you can kill your teammates at any time in this game by shooting at them, but you have to fire several shots into them. So the gun overheats at the worst times too. Like right now, 2 heavies, a teammate has fallen, and I can't shoot because I've got to wait for it to cool down. Very stressful and chaotic. I did die twice here, so it wasn't that bad. I just and I do think that it's fair. I'm not saying it's unfair. I just think that they could do a little bit better of a job of just highlighting things a little better and making more more contrasting pieces of any visual contrasts, so that you could focus more without having to do a lot of visual on just spontaneous guesswork about where enemies are coming, who's where, who is what. Anyway, this point in the game, you need to shoot the wood off the door so your teammates can go through. But what we're trying to accomplish here, in case you're curious, is we're trying to just protect the squad so that they can get up to the zip line and cross over. I mean, this is it's chaotic, and it's very frustrating, and it's quite challenging, but it's not anything you're going to tear your hair out over, probably, is what I wanted to say. And also that stealing water section part 2, 10-2, it's nowhere near as bullshit as chapter 7 on Brutal on Uncharted 1. Nowhere near that. Like, nowhere near that. I just wanted to mention that. Also, a couple times there are the bayonet specialists that they do cross the zip bar, but the game is very kind to direct you over to them. So it does a good job of doing that, but and it's just a lot of stuff to process in a very quick way, and it is very easy for things to go extremely wrong here. But when you're on top of it, you're on top of it. When you're lagging behind, you can really tell, because you start to feel the stress of everybody coming after you. The tenseness of the gun needing to cool down when there's a lot of pressure on you. But it's, again, it's not something that you're going to get extremely frustrated on, I would hope. And that is actually a wrap for Chapter 11. I will see you in Chapter 12. Please take care.